What an age that we're in, when every couple of years we get to buckle up and go on some pretty insane rides with the never-ending story of the Fast and Furious. From big screen blockbusters to short film releases and the start of the spin-off series, we're here to rank every single Fast and Furious from worst to best. Like a car heist gone wrong, there's gonna be bumps and fender benders along the way, but let's see if you agree with our rankings. And feel free to give us your own. We know there are some loyalists out there who prefer the first 3 movies over the rambunctious superhero-styled sequels.
Alright, let's race.
One of the most pointless things ever made in the Fast and Furious franchise is a short film meant to bridge the gap between the Fast and Furious and Too Fast. Even the title is dumb. The Turbo Charged Prelude for Too Fast, Too Furious? Huh? Anyway, the 6-minute short follows Brian as he heads from California to Miami. We get the classic cheesy map effect showcasing where he makes his travels. There's a bizarre scene where he stares into the bathroom mirror, and the mirror transforms into a flashback montage. Oh yeah, Brian has no dialogue either. And Minka Kelly is wasted as a woman who gives him a ride. Yep, that's all. We could easily conclude that Brian traveled from LA to Miami to evade police. This short was completely unnecessary and added nothing to the films. Still want to see it? Check it out on the Too Fast, Too Furious DVD or Blu-ray sets where it was first released.
You embarrass me!
If the prelude for Too Fast, Too Furious is the worst of the bunch when it comes to the Fast Saga, then the sequel film is right up there with it. Universal could not deny the success the first Fast and Furious movie had. It instantly propelled Vin Diesel into a huge action star. So big he wasn't ready to return to the franchise just yet. Too Fast follows Brian's adventures in Miami. While the movie sets seeds for the future films, the characters are far different than their counterparts. We're specifically talking about Ludacris as Tej and Tyrese as Rome. The duo would do a lot more in future films, but their characters really lacked here, and the film itself felt almost like a rehash of the first one. It left a lot to be desired, including Dom's absence from the story. The movie could be pulled out of the whole timeline and we wouldn't miss a beat. Rotten Tomatoes score, 36%.
You slipped.
Over the years, the reputation of Tokyo Drift has grown, especially for the characterization and depth from Han, but the film itself still lacks the same uproarious missions and stunts that we've come to expect. The movie abandons the main cast and focuses on all new characters besides Han.
You don't turn your back on family.
Pretty much acting like a spin-off movie, Tokyo Drift could have caused the whole franchise to derail and enter the direct-to-video sequel territory. Kind of like Bring It On, and their 6th franchise film, Bring It On, Worldwide Cheer Smack. Yeah, that's a movie. Luckily, the film had some pretty fun street races, and Vin Diesel made an epic cameo return in the final moments to really keep it a legit part of the franchise while giving fans hope that he would return again. And while Lucas Black's Sean Boswell made a cameo appearance in Furious 7, we're glad he's going to make another appearance in Fast 9 as Tokyo Drift still gets wrapped into the overall franchise timeline and doesn't feel like a forgotten spin-off.
Are you guys for real right now?
Rotten Tomatoes score, 38%. Just like Brian's story before Too Fast, Too Furious, Universal felt like we needed a recap of Dom's life before his big return in Fast and Furious. Well, we got it in the form of Los Bandoleros. Unlike the Too Fast Prelude, Los Bandoleros actually delivers some great content and showcases some of Vin Diesel's acting range. Basically, we follow Dom's life in the Dominican Republic before he's about to gear up for another adventure. The 18-minute short isn't bad, but the lack of high-octane thrills is what keeps it so low on our list. The short is definitely worth watching though, especially for the chemistry between Letty and Dom. If you're not a fan of the couple, simply watch this short and you'll be rooting for their family from here on out. We wouldn't be where we are today without the thrills of the original, but over time, the franchise grew further and further apart from the street racing classic. The undercover cop story adds tension to every scene. We love the mix of relationships, and the bromance between Brian and Dom have become one for the ages, while propelling Paul Walker and Vin Diesel to superstar status. The film remains very grounded, gritty, and has a lot of fun races to enjoy. We still cringe at Ja Rule's acting, but thankfully, he's not in it too much. If anything, the original film has given us a plethora of quotes we can pull out at any time.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
Rotten Tomatoes score, 53%. After Tokyo Drift, the Fast and Furious franchise needed a reboot, and it comes in the form of Fast and Furious. The original crew gets back together as Brian and Dom team up once again. The seeds are definitely set for the future of the franchise, and this entry lays the groundwork for what's to come. The film was a massive hit, and the opening scene was breathtaking as Dom and his gang take down large oil tankers. The quick loss of Letty was disappointing, and the film has failed to hold up to the sequels that followed, mainly due to the lack of cast members like Dwayne Johnson, Ludacris, and Tyrese. The film did provide a fun debut for Gal Gadot, who doesn't get as much credit as she deserves in the franchise. Oddly, the film only has a 29% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, the lowest of all the movies. We have to think it's because of the major departure this entry took from the first 3 films. Critics weren't ready for the Superman-like heroics of Dom just yet. It would only take a couple of movies for those scores to rise. With box office records being broken year after year, it was only a matter of time before the Fast and Furious franchise would branch off into spin-off territory. The 2019 film Hobbs and Shaw focused on the Odd Couple team as they traveled across the globe, bickered a lot, and found themselves in some pretty explosive action sequences.
Well.
You have 2 of the biggest action stars of all time going up against Idris Elba, but the film still felt like it lacked something, despite being a non-stop thrill ride. Maybe it was the cybernetic villain that turned the story into something more Marvel-like than Furious-like, or maybe we just like watching Hobbs better when we can see the natural tension between him and Dom. Either way, the film is definitely a must-see for fans of the Fast and Furious franchise, and after setting up the spin-off, we'd love to see exactly where a sequel could take us. Rotten Tomatoes score, 67%. Despite the films taking on more obnoxious titles, kind of like the Sharknado franchise, there's so much to love in the movie. Fate of the Furious. Cars vs. Submarines? Check. Zombie cars in New York City? Check. Kurt Russell? Check. One of the shortcomings of the film is Dom's betrayal of his team. The plotline feels so forced, and almost a rehash of when Letty didn't have her memories. We all know he's going back to the good side by the end of the movie. Cypher proves to be a memorable villain, and it's nice that she wasn't just a one-and-done character like so many villains in the past. The way she executed Elena was cold-blooded and actually made her feel like a real threat to the team. The film was also the first without Paul Walker after his passing, a sad realization that hits you at multiple points throughout the movie. At least Vin Diesel honored the actor by naming his on-screen son Brian off of the beloved character. Rotten Tomatoes score, 67%. Talk about a game-changing movie. Fast 5 has become the blueprint of what we expect from each new sequel. Cars dragging a giant safe through the streets, the post-credit teaser of Letty's return, and Tej and Rome rejoin the team. The biggest highlight has to be the introduction of Agent Hobbs. Forget the car races. The one-on-one fight scene between Hobbs and Dom is epic and intense. The movie even brought Vince back into the fold, only to showcase him as a backstabber.
That's for damn sure.
Fast 5 is non-stop, with prison buses, trains, and crazy races through the city streets. When Hobbs gives Dom and Brian 24 hours to get away, you knew he would be back to rejoin the team and work on their side for the sequel. As for personal character growth, Brian and Mia expect their first child together, truly expanding the family dynamics the whole franchise was built upon. Rotten Tomatoes score, 77%. If you thought Fast and Furious was great, well, get ready for Fast and Furious 6. The film ups the stakes in every way, and Letty is back. Sure, amnesia plots can get annoying, but reuniting Dom and Letty was worth it here. Plus, we got one of the best Furious villains in the form of Lucas Evans as Owen Shaw. Besides the mindless and highly entertaining action sequences, the movie presents a lot of depth and growth for the characters. Giselle and Han actually expand their relationship, right up to the point where she sacrificed her life to save Han. Mia and Brian's relationship grows the core message of family stronger than ever. Oh yeah, Letty also drives a tank through the streets and crushes cars like it's no one's business. Plus there's Dom out driving an airplane, that's always a good time. The whole film is entertaining from start to finish without a dull moment, but the mid-credits scene with Jason Statham really takes the cake and finally connects the whole Fast and Furious timeline with Han's apparent vehicle-induced assassination. Rotten Tomatoes score, 70%. And now, we've reached the cream of the crop, the best of the best. The fastest of the furiousest, if that makes any sense. Furious 7. The legacy of this movie will live on for years, and the movie will be one of the hardest to top. Where do we even start? How about The Rock? He literally flexed his muscles and destroyed a cast on his arm. And that's just the beginning. We get epic fight scenes, epic race scenes, and Deckard Shaw kicks things up a notch as a villain who is set out on destroying Dom's whole team. And just as your adrenaline reaches its peak, you're hit in the heart with the somber ending dedicated to Paul Walker. We see Brian walk on the beach with his son, pull up to a crossroads with Dom, and then are treated to a touching montage of Brian's greatest moments in the franchise. Rotten Tomato score, 81%. Of course, everyone has their own personal opinions, and now we're ready to hear yours. Give us your ranks, your reasons, and why you agree or disagree with ours. Do you want the 10th installment to get split into 2 parts? Well, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to ScreenRant for more great content.